So finally, John, we referenced it earlier, but you just got back from a quick trip to Manhattan. Even talk about how quick it was. You flew up game day, which that is not normal. But was that your first trip to Manhattan for basketball?
It was my first since 1997.
97.
The first year of the Big 12.
There you go.
Yeah.
So they call that place the Octagon of Doom, which I love. And on TV, the game the other night, it certainly looked like there was just a raucous, intense atmosphere for that K-State Baylor game. You have also made multiple trips to Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence. And Kelly, I'm sure you have also been to a lot of cool basketball venues. So my question, what's the best basketball atmosphere that you guys have witnessed? And what's your bucket list place?
I guess I'll start here. Allen Fieldhouse, by far. They pack it every game. Those fans, they're really passionate about basketball. They know the game. They know when to get on players. They seem to know everything about the opposing team. So if somebody's really struggling, they'll get on that player. It's just a fantastic atmosphere. It was built in 1955. So it's, it's kind of, it's an old style that still has some bleacher type of seats. But yeah, that one's great. But, obviously it'd been a long time since I'd been to Bramlage Coliseum, and it's really a great venue. And what I like about it, it's just one tier of seats, and they go all the way down from the top, and the fans are really tight against the court, and it really creates a really good atmosphere. You're kind of like you're in a vortex there, sort of. Yeah, so it's a really good one. Now, Kelly, you probably hadn't been around this long, but the old Gallagher-Iba before they raised the roof,
yeah,
man, that place was just death to teams coming in there. I mean, the fans were on top of you. That roof was low. Eddie Sutton's teams were fantastic. I mean, you didn't have much of a chance of winning there. So that was really great. And, if they still pack the place, I'm sure, with all the improvements, it'd still be great. And as far as bucket list, I'd say Cameron Indoor. That's obviously an amazing
That's a stock
place.
answer. That's a good answer.
It is.
Yeah.
So,
Kelly,
yeah.
what do you say?
So I covered Oklahoma State a decade ago for 2 seasons. Those were the 2 seasons when Marcus Smart was there. And that was, those were really interesting seasons, but I went everywhere in the Big 12 those 2 years, except for West Virginia, because it's a little far. But my favorite trips during that time were definitely Allen Fieldhouse. But I like Bramlage a lot, but I really liked Hilton Coliseum when it's packed, when it's a big game. Really any arena that has the students close, has the fans close to the court, lets the media still sit close to the court. That's the dream.
Amen.
If you're like,
Dream.
if you're really far away from it, you're like, I am not really part of this, but it's like watching on TV, I guess. But I think, I've been to Cameron Indoor for a non-conference game. I've been to Hinkle. I've been to places that would be on my, or probably were on my bucket list. But if you're not there for like a really big game, it's definitely a different experience. So I think my bucket list is important games at those venues. The game that I went to at Cameron Indoor was one of the first games of the season. I was up there for a Tulsa football game against East Carolina, and it was cool, but you're like, I could see how this would be a lot more enjoyable if it was packed and people were really into the game. So I definitely would like to go to North Carolina game at Duke, but I like the newer arenas, but it's the old ones that have my heart, and covering games when it's a big game and you're close to the court, it's just a totally different experience. And I know it's so trendy now to put the media far away and have those seats close to the court for big donors, but I hate that.
Yeah, I
It's great
agree.
for the donors, I guess, but so often it's like an NBA game when you have people who have a lot of money but maybe aren't that invested in the game close to the court. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Oh, another one I really like is Wichita State's arena, the Roundhouse. I like that one a lot. That's a place I've been to a few times, and that's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, those are good answers. John and I have been fortunate enough to have covered some national championship games, both men's and women's basketball. And I will say, obviously, that does raise the level of intensity and, everything. I mean, that's, but at the same time, the atmosphere is great, but all those NCAA tournament, like Final Four type games are in these giant, football arenas, and you lose something there, I think, with the atmosphere. I'll go back a few years on one of my favorites, and that was, John, you remember when A&M had G. Raleigh White?
Oh yeah.
The Holler House is what they called it. That place, when they would fill it up, that was a pretty good atmosphere. I remember watching A&M play Kansas when Paul Pierce was at KU, and that place was lit, man. It was, the Aggies can get crazy. We know that. And then I will mention one other one that I was not at, but I just want to bring it up because I know, John, you always talked about it. And yes, this was in a football arena, but when Baylor played, when they played Duke at NRG Stadium down in Houston in the NCAA tournament, how many Baylor fans were there? I mean, it was maybe one of the best showings they've ever had.
I think it's close to 40,000.
I mean, that's
Baylor
just
fans.
Incredible for a basketball game. And wasn't that atmosphere pretty good?
Yeah, it really was, especially, for a football stadium. I mean, they really made it more basketball-like somehow. And it did help having all those Baylor fans there. Yeah.
So, little known fact, John does know this fact, but I was actually born in North Carolina, got to Texas as fast as I could, but my grandmother and my Nana, she's still alive. She lives in North Carolina, and I have visited UNC, and that court is awesome. I would love to see a game there. And I'm with y'all on Duke. Obviously, Cameron Indoor, that just feels like a bucket list kind of college basketball place. But so there's still time. Maybe we'll get there. So
I did want to mention, Kelly brought up Hinkle Fieldhouse, and it was really unique watching Baylor play 2 NCAA tournament games there in 2021, which wouldn't have happened except for COVID.
Yeah.
And that was pretty awesome to be there. And, just such an historic venue like that.
Yeah, no doubt. John, you were in the bubble. You were our bubble guy for like a month, weren't you?
Yes. Yes, it was very
Kelly, John went from Kansas City covering the Big 12 tournament, and he just drove over to Indianapolis, into Indiana, and I mean, we didn't see him for like a month.
Literally, it was a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your wife was happy to see you again.
Oh yeah.
So that's a book, John. You should write about that.